Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Hoops and some off-the-court intrigue in the world of recruiting. Now, this would have been a topic that we talked about on Friday's Aaron Torres pod. But here's the thing about that. We record the Friday show Thursday about 6:30 Eastern time. And unfortunately, a piece of news broke right after we finished recording that was absolutely relevant that we didn't get a chance to talk about. It came in the recruitment, or maybe the better word is re-recruitment, of one of the most high-profile players in high school basketball. Player named Liam McNeeley, top 15 prospect, McDonald's All-American. He was committed to the University of Indiana, and not only committed, but he was signed with Indiana in the fall signing period. Well, on Thursday, probably about 7 p.m. or so Eastern, it was right after we finished recording, Liam McNeeley, top 15 prospect, only commit, by the way, only signee in the class of 2024 for Indiana. He announces that he has asked out of his national letter of intent, and he will not be going to Indiana. And so there's a lot to break down from both perspectives, from the Indiana perspective, from where he could end up next. But let me just say this. This is a big piece of news. This is a very talented player. And there are going to be major trickle-down effects for both the player, Indiana, and, of course, whoever gets his commitment. But I do think we might kind of already know where he's going to end up. So let's break it down. First of all, for people who haven't seen this kid, really talented, as I said. He's about 6'8", plays at Montverde Academy. A guy who I wouldn't call him an elite athlete, but a very good athlete, above average athlete, good defender, good help defender. But what he is really known for is his three-point shooting. I think I saw a stat. I think it was basically that on his tracked free throw attempts, because remember, obviously, you're playing high school basketball. You're playing in these big tournaments. He plays at Montverde Academy. I get that there's certain events where it's going to be tough to track, the everything going on. But I just bring it up because I saw this stat. I'll give credit to The Athletic. In 23 tracked games this season per Synergy, McNeeley's hitting 50.8% of his 118 threes at Powerhouse Montverde. He hit 47.8% last year. So this guy has an above average player, NBA prospect, but he has an elite skill where he's hitting 51% from behind the three-point arc for Montverde against the best high school competition in America. That is an incredible stat. It shows you how good he is. And let me just say this. It also shows you how crippling it is for Indiana. Because you look at Indiana, it's crippling for a few reasons. One, this is the only high school prospect that Indiana has signed. Now, I don't think that's as big of a deal as others seem to be making it. The bottom line was Indiana's going to need a bunch of guys out of the portal this offseason anyway. And so now you just add one more thing to the list. Mike Woodson said it. He did a press conference on Friday to preview Sunday's game, and he kind of referenced, we already had a big offseason ahead. It just got bigger with Liam McNeeley being gone. But at the same time, it's especially crippling for beyond just the scholarship number perspective. It's bigger because, one, this is a program that basically sort of has a little bit of positive momentum, but not that much. It was announced earlier this week that Woodson will be coming back for the 2024-2025 season. It seems as though, and Indiana fans in the comments section, feel free to share your opinions. It feels as though there is a perception. I think it's like 50-50. I think a lot of people wanted him back. I think there's a lot of people that don't want him back. So you announce he's coming back. You're trying to build towards 2024-2025 being a success, only for the most high-profile recruit that you have, the only recruit that you have, to decommit. But what's even worse, this was the exact guy that you needed. It's one thing if you got 3 guys committed and 2 of them are point guards and one of them just whatever. But for a guy, you are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in college basketball. For people who have not watched Indiana, because they have not been good for most of this year, talent on the interior, talent at point guard, I think, was Xavier Johnson. But they are statistically one of the worst three-point shooting teams in all of college basketball. I remember talking about that Illinois game a few months back. Remember that Illinois game when Indiana went to Illinois? They were very much in the mix late in the game, but they literally did not make a three the entire game. Well, that's who they've been most of this year. They shoot 33% from three. They don't attempt a lot. They don't make a lot. And obviously those numbers are a little bit skewed because of the fact that, keep in mind, a lot of those made threes came early in the season against inferior non-power conference competition. So it's crippling because you need this player, you need the body, but more importantly, he has the exact skill set that you want and that you need going into next year. So this is crushing for Indiana. I think they can be okay. Mike Woodson's got to get to work in the portal. The one thing I will give him credit for, he has had a great deal of success in the portal. Brought in Xavier Johnson, brought in Kalel Ware last offseason, brought in a couple other nice pieces through the years. So I'm not as worried about it from the Indiana perspective, but I do think it publicly is not a good look, especially in the previous week when Mike Woodson said, I believe basketball is still played from the inside out. Now, I didn't find that statement to be all that controversial. But at the same time, when you're shooting 33%, when you know you're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in college basketball, I'm not sure that's what your fan base wants to hear. Anyway, Liam McNeeley is no longer going to Indiana. We discussed the Indiana perspective. What I think to me is as interesting is this. Where is he going now? And I've heard two differing things, but I'm going to put some puzzle pieces together because to me, I think it's a very interesting recruitment. I think there is an obvious favorite in the mix here. So now I did read, I saw Travis Branham, very well respected. I love Travis. He's great at what he does. Recruiting writer. He did say that it was kind of an open recruitment. Remember, this is a kid that was recruited by everybody. He's from Texas originally. Texas was after him hard. Alabama, obviously, great program, great style of play. He would fit in there very well. But ultimately, Indiana won out in this recruitment over Kansas. And I truly believe that Kansas should be considered the front runner for him and Liam McNeeley going forward. One, there's obviously the pre-existing relationship, okay? Pre-existing relationship, Bill Self, Hall of Famer, Kansas, whatever. But two, what I can tell you, having done this as long as I have, oftentimes when a kid, in a situation like this, it's very rare that a kid is going to decommit this late in the process and completely open things up, completely reopen a recruitment, completely go in blind and have to rebuild relationships all over again. Now, it does happen sometimes. Ironically, it happened with Mackenzie Mbako a year ago when he was committed to Duke, decommits in mid-April, and then builds a relationship with Indiana that basically didn't exist. But with this kid, to me, there's one pretty obvious reason. If you connect the dots, and that's one of the fun parts about this job. Okay, this happened, but why and what does it mean? And if you connect the dots, I think there's an obvious reason why Kansas should be considered the favorite. Because if you think about Kansas this season, I think by Kansas standards, it's been a disappointment. Still have a chance to make a run in March, but whatever. I think it's been a disappointment. But I bring it up because what has changed in the last probably month at Kansas? Well, a few things. I mean, Kevin McCullough's been in and out of the lineup, whatever. Hunter Dickinson's been in and out of the lineup. Well, he has been in and out of the lineup. He's been up and down, whatever. But what has changed is this. Is that there is a freshman on that team named Johnny Furphy. Very similar attributes to Liam McNeeley. 6'8", 6'9", shooter, whatever. And he's really been good in late January into February. And February certainly into March. And Johnny Furphy, if you follow the NBA draft stuff, has slowly started to creep up NBA draft boards from he's an interesting prospect to maybe by his sophomore year, he'll be really good to, oh, he's playing now. And I've seen mock drafts because remember, this is a very weak NBA draft. I've seen mock drafts where he's like a top 15 pick. Now, I think it would benefit him to come back for another year, but it's not my life, and I'm not going to tell him to turn down life-changing money. And so what has become interesting is a player that's exactly like Liam McNeeley with the exact same skill set is balling out at Kansas, maybe the only positive out of this season. And now all of a sudden he might not be back next year. And so Kansas may need a guy to replace him. And I think that's where it starts to get interesting. Not accusing Kansas of tampering, not accusing them of convincing him to get out of his scholarship. But that is a spot that, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense for this kid. They have had players like this kid before. Johnny Furphy this year, Grady Dick last year. So they've had that type of player. They've developed that type of player in a one-and-done setting. And, of course, Bill Self is a Hall of Famer. Kansas is an incredible place to play college basketball. So I think that makes a lot of sense. The one last thing I would also say, and this part is worth noting as well. We always say that, a kid is leaning here or trending there or whatever. But again, the other thing that I have learned at this time of year in college basketball, a kid may enter the portal or may decide to transfer thinking that he knows where he wants to go. But when all of a sudden everybody realizes that you have an opportunity to come play for this guy or that guy, or you could go here, NIL money there, things do change really quick. And so now that everybody knows that he is available, he's going to hear from everybody. Not going to be a fit everywhere, not going to pick up everybody's call. But once the kid is officially available, that's when it becomes interesting. Still, if I had to guess today, I would guess he's a Kansas Jayhawk. Crushing news for Indiana. Mike Woodson's got to get to work in the portal. And Kansas may have its next big piece for next year. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. Here's the good news. We are your hub for all things portal, April transactions, everything you need right here on the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe.